Hey, it's Danielle from VA Lifestyle Design. In this video, I'd like to share a couple of thoughts about the types of businesses that you can consider working with as a new virtual assistant when you're first starting out, and also how that kind of decision-making process and those options differ as compared to other types of freelancers working online or other role types, career options for people that are working online different to virtual assistants. Things like web developers or writers or designers, marketing strategists, all these other types of roles that go into contributing to supporting an online business, its marketing and its operations, that are different to the virtual assistant role, which can be called different things. And you might have heard me say before, sometimes you're just called by your name with no title. You might be called a team member on a remote team or what have you, but for clarity here, and especially if you're researching this now, we're looking at, the overarching role title of virtual assistant. So first of all, a couple of big categories, broad categories in terms of business types. Two of the big ones that you might have on your mind when you're considering who you're going to reach out to or who you're going to submit an application to work on their team are digital products and physical products. So digital products being things like courses or membership sites, or sometimes software businesses might be fall under that broad category, but often that's separate out on its own. But more so membership sites, courses, digital downloads, information that's delivered through an app, video training that's delivered through an app rather than a website, membership site, and so forth. So all of those products where someone is purchasing information in a variety of different formats that is going to allow them to solve a problem that they have, or to develop a skill, or to find out something that expert that's created the product is aware of, and that their customers perhaps aren't yet or are wanting to develop their understanding. So that's digital products. Then physical products, and this is often referred to as an e-commerce business, or e-com for short. That's a product that is tangible, something that is shipped out to let me just check something, your clients' customers' home. So you're working for a business that either produces or stocks from other brands, physical products. They're in a warehouse. When someone orders those products, they're shipped out. Now, from a virtual assistant, and there's other categories of businesses too. So I just want to talk about digital and physical today and look at a couple of examples there on the differences. But you might also be looking at, just briefly, I'll mention these, local businesses, things like restaurants, chiropractors, gyms, and so forth. Service-based businesses, whether they're online or on the ground, coaching, consulting, accounting, all those types of things, and events as well. Again, digital events, on the ground events, and so forth. But just to kind of keep it real simple for this video, two of the biggest categories, digital products and physical products, or e-commerce businesses. Okay, so when you're looking at it from the perspective of a virtual assistant coming in to support either a digital products business or a physical products business, what are the common threads? What's the common ground in terms of your day-to-day work? So let's look for a minute at a couple of examples where there are content pieces that need to be put together that are completely unique to that business type. You'll know what I mean when I explain it here. So for a digital products business, often what's required as a virtual assistant is that you put together a particular type of website page, a landing page, which is allowing people to sign up for a webinar, a training webinar that educates the audience members of your client and the potential customers of your client about the information that they have to share, the potential solution, the potential, skill development or whatever it might be in whatever field, health, business, finance, all kinds of things. So a landing page. Now, looking at that webinar opt-in page, an e-commerce business doesn't necessarily, well, they probably won't be offering webinars. I'm trying to think if I've come across, I probably haven't come across it in my own experience, but potentially there is. But it's unique to digital product businesses, right? Or services as well, sorry. And just for simplification, let's look at this. Okay, what are the elements on their page? When you're creating this as a virtual assistant, not as a marketing strategist, but just the person with your hands on the tools in the system, working with the bits of content there, you're going to have a headline on the page. You might have the time and date of the webinar so that people know, when it is when they're signing up for it. You might have a list of bullet point information that is describing what someone would learn if they were to attend that webinar. You might have an image of the founder or the host of that webinar, the founder of the business or the host of the webinar, the person that's going to be presenting, and it might have a short paragraph of bio text about that person for people that are landing on that page and aren't familiar with that person yet. So there might be a variety of other elements on their page. On that page, there might be testimonials. There could be a footer that has some information, but there's elements on the page. What are those elements? They're text, images, video, potentially audio, but probably not on webinar page, but just thinking about those different content formats or media types. Text, images, videos, audio, right? Now let's just hold that thought for a second. Now let's jump over to the physical product business example. If you'd be considering working with a business that sells physical products and ships them out to their customers, delivers those. So what's a unique content type for that type of business? One of them is a product page, right? So different to a digital product business where they might have a sales page where there's a lot of text, a lot of different buttons throughout, referred to as call to action buttons that encourage someone to take action. Over with the e-commerce business, yes, they absolutely may have full length sales pages as well, but they also have these shorter, what's referred to as product pages. So if you've ever been to an online store and you've purchased something, or even on Amazon, there's product pages, or any other kind of independent website store where you've bought something, you might see an overall kind of collection page where you see lots of different little images of products, but then when you click through to look at one individual product in particular, what you land on then is an individual product page. And so there might be a series of images of that product captured at different angles, perhaps. Depending on what the product is what details need to be shown in the photograph to allow someone to make an informed decision as to whether they want to actually purchase that or not. And one of those images might be displayed more prominently so that people can click through and look at the different images and kind of expand them to full size to view them properly. There might be a shorter piece of descriptive text, or it might be, depending on the business, a longer section of copy. There might be even subheadings throughout. Oftentimes different to our webinar page where there was a headline or the title of the webinar, the product page might have just a clean labeling of what the product's name actually is. So it doesn't necessarily have a copywritten, sales-focused like headline. It's not all about selling on that headline, but it's just about labeling and clearly, explicitly stating what that product is. Just further down, there might be a video that compiles video testimonials that people have shared. There might be a video where someone is demonstrating the product. There might be a video where there is different kind of lifestyle images or video shots that have been spliced kind of together, giving some emotion around that product. I'm going into a little bit of detail here, but here's the important thing to know. You as the virtual assistant are not figuring out what all of that should be. You're not coming in as the marketing strategist and going, here's what we need on the webinar page, here's what we need on the product page. But what is it that we have over on that product page? In the completely different business model, we have text, images, videos, potentially audio, right? So not always audio in those content types, but I want to throw that one in there in terms of just being aware of the common threads as an implementer and a get it done person. Audio, oftentimes you're looking more so at podcasts, but also there'll be audio clipped into things like membership sites for digital products, or embedded within blog posts and so forth. But yeah, definitely text, images, and videos. And so piecing that together, looking at the common threads there, that's really what you have your focus on as a beginner virtual assistant. How can I do the best possible job of getting this page laid out to look great, to look professional, to be accurate, to have the images cropped the way they should be? Should they be square or should they be landscape? Does that headline or does that product page title, does it need to be a larger text size, a larger font size? Does it need to be a different color? Now, what I'm talking about there is not looking at the aspects necessarily that a marketer is going to be really focused on. Yes, marketers will be focused on some of those elements, but getting right down into the nitty-gritty of checking off all of those things and being a really kind of proactive implementer. That's the common threads. And because of that, because the common threads are text, images, videos, and audio, what my take on it is that you don't need to specialize in either one business type, like all digital product businesses or all e-commerce businesses or all local businesses. You don't need to specialize in one business type, and you also don't need to specialize in one topic area or industry, like just cars or just finance or just real estate or just cooking or whatever it might be, right? That's really how I see it. You're really pulling together those common threads, the content pieces, and there's one other element to it, the systems that you're putting that content into. So whether that's WordPress, whether that's Shopify, when we're looking at those landing pages, whether that's lead pages, whether that's ClickFunnels, whatever it might be, right? Starting to really get your handle on the systems and feeling confident in navigating around, pressing the right buttons, getting the outcome that you're after from an content layout perspective, not from a marketing or funnel building or strategy perspective. Now let's just quickly differentiate that to a couple of other role types in terms of when you're considering working remotely. So for, say, a writer, someone that's going to write either copy, sales copy, ebooks, product descriptions, blog posts, content for email newsletters, all these types of things. VAs absolutely do writing as well. I'll talk more about that later, but it's definitely not something that I've ever focused on in terms of client work. Absolutely researching for writing, briefing writers, researching for writers, providing feedback to writers, proofreading, editing, formatting, all of those things 100%, and also piecing together snippets, like going into the email system and pulling out a snippet of text to put it on a landing page. Yes, absolutely 100%. But writing from scratch, no, that's not been a service that I've offered personally. I have in the past contracted writers to offer that. Did that for a couple of years, maybe, can't remember exactly, it might have been 3 years. But then decided I want to externally refer out. But as a writer, if you think about it, there's much more necessity in terms of that writer's productivity and ability to secure the client and gain their confidence. There's much more necessity for them to specialize, to narrow down their focus in terms of topic areas or industries or what have you. If you have a writer that's really passionate about cars, and I know I'm giving super stereotypical examples, but that's what comes to mind, passionate about cars and is writing for, blog, kind of magazine style content sites about cars that maybe have advertising on them and so forth. If they're writing that content every day and then they go and try and pitch a wedding blog that they want to work with them just because they're desperate for work, it's going to be a little bit of a harder case to say, do you really want to write about weddings? What do you know about weddings? You know what I mean? Like, for sure, there could be someone that's into cars and weddings, but just for the sake of a really kind of stereotypical example. So you see there, the common threads are not the same as they are for you as the VA, the person with your hands on the tools. They're different because the outcome, the writing and the quality of that outcome and the accuracy, or not accurate, accuracy too, is going to be dependent on that person's prior knowledge and interest in that industry, or even experience in writing for similar business types in the past. If you look at something like web design, for sure it makes sense for web designers to specialize in one, or a handful or less, but whatever it might be. For sure it makes sense for web designers to specialize in a topic area, content area, because there are many different considerations in terms of the elements that go into a website depending on what the business type is. So just for, again, a super kind of black and white example, a restaurant business is going to need a completely different website with different components to a online coach or consultant. So a restaurant business is not going to need a prominent freebie ebook to say pop in your email and download our free ebook. It's not going to happen, right? So if the web designer is so used to doing coaching businesses, okay, you've got to put some thought process into, well, what do you put on a restaurant business homepage, right? Whereas if they've got experience, it really is so clear to them. I know they need the menu on this page, and generally we put the menu here and we link it on the homepage here. And then I know they need another page on the site and linked in the main navigation that integrates a third-party app perhaps that allows table bookings, or provides the contact information for table bookings, or whatever that may be. So won't go into further depth there, but you kind of paints the picture where you see how specialization or experience in that industry actually contributes to the quality of work that person is able to do and the ability they have to connect with those clients. So circling back now to virtual assistant work, really what it is when you are demonstrating and talking with enthusiasm about your interest in their business. Absolutely. So in some cases that helps if you do have even kind of amateur experience, or experience as a consumer of that product, or someone who's interested in that topic. That can absolutely help with these conversations. But in terms of your ability and your confidence to get the work done, that comes down to how well do you know how to work with content. And that doesn't matter how many different types of industries you're getting a feel for in the early days. Now, my recommendation when you're starting out is aiming to have somewhere between 1 and 5 clients. More than that, I've found in my experience, and a lot of people I've spoken with about this, that there tends to be a lot of task switching time that reduces your productivity, extra invoicing time, potentially learning time, because there's a much broader range of software systems that you're working in. So 1 to kind of 5 max, but ideally 1 to 3. And when and if you have the capacity to do it, to focus on 1 full time, if that actually works with your lifestyle arrangements, your preferences. But looking at that, 1 to 3, 1 to 5. So for sure, go in this industry because you've got an interest there, or that business model. Don't worry about needing to hang your hat on a certain topic area or business type, digital products or e-com. And in fact, if I was starting again now and I had that frame of reference, I had that context, which I didn't have starting out. I was just like, work online. I didn't know about digital products and physical products or what have you. Maybe I did, but I wasn't thinking about it in terms of categories. I would be excited to actually see if I can have 1 in each starting out. And kind of just get a taste for what the differences are, because there's so many differences, with, I shared some of the differences. I won't go into too many details, but, you're sometimes helping with shipping and more correspondence and coordination with e-commerce businesses, and with digital product businesses, often you're helping with things like launches, which are timed and dated, so that's a completely different experience that you don't have in e-com businesses. So if there is the potential to, and if you're not going all in on 1 full-time client out of the gate, in my opinion, if I was to start again, I would think that would be a super cool way to approach it. Having the general intention, not the necessity, but general intention, hey, what about 1 digital, 1 physical product business? I wonder what topic areas they'll be, and start doing your research, digging in, ready to submit those applications or reach out to people. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I really hope that helps, and bringing it back to that focus on content types and systems rather than specialization. All right, talk soon, guys.